How's everyone doing? Today I have a Blu-ray and DVD update with 14 pickups right here. Here we go, all in frame. And if you've seen any of these movies, definitely let me know what you think of them. First up is Charlie's Farm. I imported this. This is region free. And this is from Monster Pictures. Pretty cool little emblem and name right there. This is an Australian slasher. And I imported this from the UK. It says region B, but it is actually region free. So there you go. And this is a pretty generic slasher film overall. One of the biggest issues with the film is that Tara Reid is the lead actress, and that kind of kills it. She's a terrible, or as Charles Barkley would say, terrible actress. Kane Hodder's in here, and the showdown was kind of a letdown as well. You've got Bill Moseley, a bunch of recognizable people that I think were underutilized, and Nathan Jones plays the hulking Charlie's from Charlie's Farm right there, and he's actually really creepy and very imposing. And I kind of want them to do a sequel just because I felt like they could have done so much more with it. Again, very basic, generic slasher, but it's basically a group of friends who go and try to find Charlie's farm where this inbred family were killed, and there's the rumor that Charlie's still alive living in the woods. And from there, it's, you know, one by one they get picked off by Charlie. But yeah, Charlie's a huge, giant beast right there. But again, needs a better actress, needed a better showdown, and it was just too generic and formulaic, but just about average Australian slasher right there. But I'd like to see them do more with it. Again, that character was awesome. Next up is Pay the Ghost with Nicolas Cage. This was better than expected. It also stars Sarah Wayne Callies from The Walking Dead, and it did have good atmosphere, but there was CG that I felt like detracted a little bit from it. It's basically they have a little son who disappears at a Halloween carnival in the streets. Nicolas Cage is with him, and he turns around for like a second and he's gone, and they're kind of haunted by that. It affects their marriage, and they basically split up and they start seeing things they can't explain. And Nicolas Cage and Sarah Wayne Callies are trying to figure out what happened to their son, and they're finding little clues here and there, and there's some creepiness to it. I felt like they could have done a little bit more with it, and the CGI use kind of was a negative to me. I'd rather see practical effects. But overall, it was pretty decent, and I think it's worth checking out, at least for a one-time watch. Next up is The Perfect Guy, and this one actually really surprised me. I didn't think Michael Ealy could be imposing like that, because he's done a lot of roles where he's not imposing at all. He's very kind of mild-mannered. But I think his performance was really what drove this, as well as Sanaa Lathan, who is stunning in here. And basically she breaks up with her longtime boyfriend of Morris Chestnut right there, and she sees this guy who seems great and seems like the perfect guy at first, until she sees how violent and crazy he is, and she breaks up with him, and he's just not having that, so he stalks her and harasses everybody around her, and things get out of control, and yeah, spirals quickly. And there's a scene in the trailer and in the movie where they show him underneath her bed, which is a scene that reminds me of a movie I recently watched, Sleep Tight. And it's a scene that's been utilized in many horror thriller movies before, you know, somebody underneath the bed like that. But it definitely worked. It was very effective. And again, Michael Ealy was great as the creepy stalker dude here. And I love the climax to this. I was a little bit disappointed with Morris Chestnut, what happened to him. But overall, very surprising movie. I enjoyed the heck out of it. Rage-filled craziness, great performances. I dug it. I didn't think I was going to. I thought it was going to be kind of formulaic, and while it was formulaic, it actually worked. Next up, and I will say, again, a lot of times with these kind of movies, the endings aren't exactly what you want, but I think the ending worked out really well here. And there's been so many movies like this with a crazy stalker here. Like I said, though, the ending very satisfying. That's what kind of really made me appreciate it even more. But so many of these stalker movies that I've seen, and the one that always reminds me, or that sticks out the most to me, is Mark Wahlberg in Fear. The little... I loved his performance in that. I don't think Mark Wahlberg's a great actor by any means, but he's got great screen presence, and he was excellent there. And yeah, Michael Ealy killed in that role. Sanaa Lathan, oof, love it. Next up is The Walk right here. This was a really decent film. I do like the documentary a little bit better, Man on a Wire. It was based on the true story of Philippe Petit, who walked across a wire, essentially, the World Trade Center right there. And it says 12 people walked in the moon, but only one man has ever walked between the World Trade Center towers. And it has Ben Kingsley in here, and it's directed by Robert Zemeckis, who of course directed Forrest Gump. And great supporting cast in here overall. And Ben Kingsley's always excellent. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is doing so many great roles. He was the lead here, and he did a great job. I thought it was an excellent film, but again, watching the documentary, the documentary was just so much better to me. It's definitely one that I would recommend checking out. But overall, I think I just wanted something more, something to stand out from it. There's just, you know, the recreation essentially. They were just all playing the roles to me, it felt like. But a good performances, directing-wise and acting-wise, and from cinematography standpoint as well. Next up is Magic Mike Double XL. I had this a while. Some of these copies were review copies that I just never got a chance to actually sit down and watch and review. I never saw the first one. I saw the second one now. I feel like you don't need to watch the first one though for this. It just kind of jumps into it. They're basically on the road again. Bunch of male strippers right there. I thought this was going to be terrible. I thought it was going to be just unwatchable. You know, it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but it was better than I expected. It's basically a buddy road trip movie for, you know, at least 75% of the movie. And, you know, of course they have some dancing aspects to it. And some of the dance sequences were awesome. A lot of cameos in here. And there's the one scene at the supermarket, which I thought was hilarious. When he's dancing around. That cracked me up. The ending, though, it just seemed like a lackluster ending. I was like, that's it? That's the ending? But again, I felt like a buddy road trip movie for the majority of the movie, and I dug that. And good chemistry throughout there. Kevin Nash cracks me up that he was in this. Again, tons of cameos. Dance sequences were decent. And some good comedic elements in there, too. And Gabriel Iglesias was in here. Just so many funny people and just surprising cameos. Next up is Heartbreak Hotel. This is from Mill Creek. I've always loved that cover. I remember seeing parts of this when I was younger, and I revisited it now. It's definitely does not live up to the memory. David Keith plays Elvis, and I actually got a chance to interview David Keith, and he said this was his favorite performance that he's ever done in his career, playing Elvis. He said he was actually singing, and I'm sorry to say I did not enjoy this movie that much. I thought it was average at best, and I didn't really think David Keith was that great as Elvis. Sorry, David Keith, I do enjoy you as an actor, but just not here. I love that cover. That cover just is awesome to me. It's directed by Christopher Columbus, who directed Home Alone 1 and 2 and Adventures in Babysitting, and he also wrote the screenplay for Goonies, and he wrote Gremlins, and there's a Gremlins 3 coming out, and a Goonies 2 coming out. Oh my gosh. They should have done those movies forever ago, but, you know, just capitalizing more cash. But Christopher Columbus right here, this is not my favorite from him. Again, it's just average. Basically, family owns a hotel, and they're really into music, and the mother is really into Elvis. And so she gets into, I think, a car accident, and basically some of the family right there and friends go and kidnap Elvis and try to fix him up with the mother, and Elvis gets there and helps everything out. You know, you just needed Elvis in your life. That's all you needed, and he fixes everything for you. And then he flies away into the night, and, you know, they, you know, share the real meaning of family. I don't know, I just thought it was a little cheesy, and I don't know, it was average at best to me, nothing special, but that artwork is amazing. Whoever did the artwork, that deserves a promotion right there on that alone. Next up, the Age of Adeline. Blake Lively is so friggin' stunning. Holy moly. Oh. And the young kid who plays young Harrison Ford in this movie looked so much like Harrison Ford, I thought it was CGI. Apparently I watched some of the special features. They picked the kid off of YouTube. He does YouTube videos, and he does like impersonations, but he looked so much like Harrison Ford. It was crazy. Great supporting cast in here, including Harrison Ford. You also have Ellen Burstyn right there. And this was basically, I wanted so much more from this. I love the concept, but again, formulaic, predictable, a little bit long and drawn out. It's 113 minutes. It felt longer than that. Editing could have been utilized a little bit more. Basically, when her character is 29 years old, she gets into a car accident, and she basically stays that same age, looks the same, and so she lives for, you know, way past her prime and still looks like that. And that's like her daughter right there, who's much older, and so she basically has to change her name and identity every so often so people don't catch on that it's still her. And, you know, it's kind of unexplainable why she's still like that, and it makes it hard to have relationships and things like that, and just basically going through the paces of her life and her different relationships and the dynamics there. And you know what's going to happen at the end and how everything plays out. Overall, I thought it was a decent movie that they could have done more with. Fantastic cinematography, great score, great supporting cast, and the lead, Blake Lively, is stunning right here. Next up is Blunt Force Trauma. I'm not a huge Ryan Kwanten fan. He's been everywhere lately. Australian actor. Frida Pinto was fantastic in here. She's stunning. And Mickey Rourke, I actually really liked his character here. I think the ending had some existentialism going on to it. It's basically about the underground world of dueling. You know, shooting each other. They wear Kevlar vests. And I liked the aspect. I didn't think I was going to like this movie at all. It was better than I expected to it, but it wasn't exactly great. They could have done more with this as well. But it was decent to watch. And I did like the ending a lot, actually. That actually elevated the film to me. And I like the chemistry with the cast, especially Frida Pinto and Ryan Kwanten. Frida Pinto's character is trying to get revenge for her brother because there are accidental deaths in dueling. Who would have thought that would have been the case? But yeah, so basically they face each other in opposing circles and they shoot. And whoever falls out of the circle or falls down loses. So there you go. They wear the vests, and there's the big showdown at the end between Ryan Kwanten and Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke is a very eclectic character in here. But again, nice cinematography in there as well. Next up is The Drownsman. This does have a Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray doesn't have this sweet slipcover. I love that slip cover. Basically, it's about a girl who almost drowns, and she basically avoids water. And all of a sudden, there's this crazy serial killer known as the Drownsman that can come out of water and kill you. Basically, if there's a drop of water, it can come and take you under, and he takes you into to his realm. And there's a whole tie-in of history between the lead actress and the killer as well. And I thought the killer was very creepy looking. I like the trailers a lot to it. The young cast, the female cast in here, could have been a lot better. That was one of my big gripes here. And again, it felt like this was such a cool concept, but they underutilized it again. I feel like that's the case with a lot of these movies. They have a great concept, but it's not fully utilized to its full potential. But it is definitely worth checking out for horror fans. It did have good atmosphere in it. And again, the killer was definitely very creepy, and the concept was cool. And I love that slipcover. I wish they would have had that on the Blu-ray. That always bugs me out. If you're going to have the slipcover for the DVD, why not for the Blu-ray? Next up is Final Prayer, which is a found footage movie that for essentially 80% of the movie was just horror tropes and cliches and just garbage. But then the last, I want to say 15 minutes really sucked me in and was creepy. And I wish I would have seen that with the rest of the movie, and it just wasn't there. It's basically a church in a remote area, and strange things start happening. Two investigators go there to try to figure out what's going on. There are a couple creepy scenes, and again, the climax was fantastic. I actually loved the climax. It was so creepy. Again, this is another case of they could have done so much more with this. And I'm basically going to keep this in my collection because I loved the last 15 minutes. The rest of the movie, I'm just going to fast forward through, I guess, because it wasn't there. The rest of it just didn't draw you in. And I think most people would probably shut the movie off before they get to the ending, which is a shame. Again, the characters didn't stand out. Nothing really stood out. And then the ending happens, and it's just like, poof. I love the ending. It makes me upset, though, that the rest of the movie wasn't as good. Mississippi Grind. I'm a big fan of Ryan Reynolds. I remember I first saw him in Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, a TV show. I was like, this guy's awesome. He's going to be a big star, and here he is now. I guess his biggest role now is Deadpool. I love the character. He was great in that. He was made for that role. Just like Christian Bale was perfect for American Psycho, and so many other characters out there, actors were great for the roles. He was great for Deadpool, and he's been great in so many movies. But I really liked him here as well, and Ben Mendelsohn was fantastic. And I love the soundtrack in here. The blues, it fits perfectly. It's basically a down-on-your-luck gambler meets Ryan Reynolds. They team up and go gambling and try to get this big payday. And a lot of lows here, personal lows, and anybody who's kind of a compulsive gambler. But I love the way that it finishes off. It's satisfying, and I love the supporting cast in here as well. And I love the cast interaction too between the two leads, Ben Mendelsohn and Ryan Reynolds especially. And the soundtrack, highly recommend the soundtrack. Oh, love that soundtrack. It introduced me to this one blues musician who I can't even think of his name right now, but fantastic. So happy that I came across that. Next up is Mike Tyson Mysteries Season 1. This show is hilarious. Norm Macdonald playing the voice right there. There's the pigeon, there's the ghost, and of course Mike Tyson playing the voice of himself right there. It's kind of like Scooby-Doo. There's different mysteries that he has to solve. I think in every episode somebody dies, but it's absolutely hilarious. There's lots of debauchery and just craziness and hijinks, but love the heck out of this. Nice slipcase right there with episodes. There's 10 episodes, and I thought this was absolutely hilarious. Great animation style. Makes you think of like the 80s, like Mr. T and all those kinds of, it reminds me of the Mr. T animation style. And then again, the Scooby-Doo, there's the van that they have as well, very Mystery Machine-esque. I would definitely recommend Mike Tyson Mysteries though. Next up is War Room. Now, obviously this is a religious movie. It is very heavy-handed, but it actually works. It was better than I was expecting. It's basically a family, and they have a war room, which is basically a prayer room. And they put different things on the walls, different prayers. She thinks that the husband's cheating on him. The husband is having issues at work, and you know, prayer brings them all together. Faith brings them all together. It's a good family movie, good religious movie. Much better than I was expecting. A lot of good special features in there as well. So if you enjoy movies like Fireproof and Courageous and other religious movies, I would definitely recommend checking out War Room. Prayer is a powerful weapon, and it's utilized very well in that. And I like the family dynamic aspect to it, and the cast was really well done. Next up is Duck Dynasty Wedding Special. I'm not the biggest Duck Dynasty fan, but I thought this was actually really enjoyable. John Luke gets married to Mary Kate. I love that they both have two names right there. But a good moral message all throughout this, and a good special feature right there too. And I just thought this was much better than I was expecting it to be. It was very heartwarming, sweet, and you got to see the real sides of them and the family, and going through the wedding, the different stages, and again, a lot of good moral messages throughout. So there you go, those are my Blu-rays and DVDs. If you've seen any of them, definitely let me know what you think of them. Leave me a comment or video response down below. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care.